Now in this video we're going to show you how we went about analysing the gas that you collected as part of the respiratory activity. One by one you'll bring the bags over to the gas analysis station and you can see the gas analyzer here. The gas analyzer is plugged into a power lab which is plugged into the computer. Now this is what the output of the gas analyzer looks like in Labchart. At the moment we're reading room air. We then connect up a sampling tube from the gas analyzer to the outlet on the Douglas bag. And you can see that that then causes a deflection in the Labchart output. Now once our readout has reached a steady state, then that is all we need to sample. We then come back to that reading later when we're ready in order to actually read off the values. Now ignore that label that says WR1, that's actually for the next section. Here we're looking at resting. And so you highlight the part of the chart that we're interested in, which is this deflection here. And we've got Labchart set up to show us the minimum value of oxygen. So as you're using up oxygen, your oxygen levels in the room air is going to drop. And so it's that minimum value of oxygen that's remaining that we're interested in. So we've got it set up to detect oxygen minimum value. And similarly for CO2, we're creating CO2 and putting it into the expired air. And so we're interested in what the maximum value of CO2 is at that time point. And so we've got the CO2 channel set up to give us the CO2 max value shown here. So if we highlight that region, then we can see our value for O2 minimum and CO2 maximum. Now if we continue doing that, we'll get readings for WR1, WR2, WR3, recovery 1, and recovery 2. Now hopefully you notice the difference in the level of deflection for oxygen and CO2 at each of the time points that we looked at based on the amount of exercise being performed at the time. So that's the main take-home message from this bit. And so that's why we showed this here. Okay, so if we come over here now to page 10 of your kuracloud notes, we've got this gas composition and analysis page. Now we've actually inserted some of that example data for the gas analysis, which you just saw me do in Labchart, here into your kuracloud notes. And so for the subject that's in your kuracloud notes, you now have the gas analysis data that you can then harvest for the table down below. But let me just show you how to do that, particularly for those of you who haven't done this type of thing too much before. So here in our Labchart window, we can change the scale of what's being shown by using either auto scale, or you can use these individual controls on the x-axis or on the y-axis for each channel. So you can move things around so you can actually see them. Now I've labeled each of these readings. So here we've got resting gas. Here we've got the reading for WR1. Here we've got the reading for WR2 and so on. In order to make a measurement, you click on the region select or the select region button and then slide those markers into the region that you're trying to measure. And now you can see that in these panels here I've got the readings, and so we've got oxygen here in channel 1 and CO2 here in channel 2. Down in this table here we have to fill in values for CO2 and oxygen. So here we've got the resting column, and this was the resting value that I had here. And so we're going to grab CO2 and drag it down to resting CO2 here. And we need resting oxygen, so we're going to grab resting oxygen and drag that down to the table here. Then the table will perform some calculations for you, but your job is to go through this Labchart window and harvest the data for your gas analysis. So hopefully that's helped those of you who were a bit unsure as to what to do here and how to go about it. That's what needs to be done on this table.